Hi, it's Mike with AskTractorMike.com. Got a viewer letter today. Very good question, and it's one that doesn't apply to all brands, but it does to a few. And it's related to if a dealer has two brands on his lot, how does he decide which one to buy? And let's read the letter today. It comes from Jeff, and it says, Hi Mike, how do tractor dealers that sell more than one brand of tractor decide which brand to guide a new tractor buyer towards? Say a first-time buyer comes in for a tractor, not having a brand in mind. I've always wondered if dealers favor one of the brands they carry over another. Maybe you can touch on that the next time you make a video on tractor purchasing. Okay, Jeff, be glad to. Well, first off today, with a lot of brands, you're not going to see a competing brand on the lot. And that relates to how much clout the company has with their dealer network. You know, John Deere, you'll not see a John Deere Mahindra dealer or John Deere Coyote dealer, I don't think anywhere. John Deere is adamant. You handle John Deere and that's all you handle. Now, they may have a competing implement brand. There's a few John Deere dealers that have bush hog, for example, and a few John Deere dealers that have short line, they call it short line, companies that offer products that Deere doesn't handle. But if Deere's in the market, you better be Deere and you better not be anything else. And they're able to kind of force feed that down their dealers' throats. And because they're really good at marketing and they sell a lot of product, they're able to do that. You know, next in line is Kubota. There's a lot of Kubota dealers that are Kubota only in small tractor country. And of course, Kubota's making efforts to get into hay equipment and bigger tractors so they can clean that up where they only have Kubota dealers that handle Kubota. New Holland, Case would love to have pure dealers. Massey would love, AGCO would love to have pure dealers. It's a nature of the beast, though, that if you have a company that you represent that has issues, and we'll talk about those, you have a second brand. And I worked at a dealership that was a New Holland dealership, but we also had Coyote tractors. And primarily the reason that drove us toward that was inventory. And that's one reason a dealer will take on an additional brand. There was a year there when we were selling the TC model tractors that, unbeknownst to us, behind the scenes, New Holland was getting ready to change suppliers of tractors. They had always sold Shabaro tractors. They said New Holland on the side, and before that said Ford on the side, but they were built by a company called Shabaro. And they were excellent tractors. My TC40 is one of them. And they were getting ready to change suppliers, and we didn't know it as dealers. But we were, I remember, at a dealership where we probably sold somewhere between 70 and 100 compact tractors a year. And at one point, we've got 3 tractors on our lot, and we couldn't get any more. And that was because they were getting ready to make that change. And so when you have an inventory situation like that, yeah, you'd like to represent your main supplier, but the simple fact of the matter is they couldn't build enough tractors to supply the demand where they were as a company. And so we ended up with Coyote. And a few years ago, Case IH did that to themselves. This is going way back. There was a time when Case IH sold a lot of compact tractors, and one year somebody at Case IH, a vice president or somebody, said, you know, we're really a big tractor company and we don't want to mess with these small tractors. So they actually told their dealers, we're getting out of the small tractor business, take on another line. If you want to sell small tractors, we're done. And literally it took them out of the market for small tractors, as you might guess, and it managed Kubota to get stronger, Mahindra, Coyote, Massey. There was a lot of companies that made a beeline to their Case IH dealer to set them up as a dealer. And so inventory, a lack of it, can drive people to have 2 brands. And of course, Case is kind of back into the small tractors now. They have them, but they don't really push them that much, and so you don't hear much about them. The other thing that can push a dealer to having 2 lines is having a deficiency somewhere where they don't offer a product. In other words, they might need a small tractor with no features on it, no bells and whistles to have a cheap price, and the supplier doesn't offer that, and so they look elsewhere. There's different segments of the market And if your supplier doesn't have a product to fit in a segment that's hot in your area, as a dealer, you'll go to look for somebody else. So let's get around to Jeff's question. If I'm a dealer and I'm handling 2 brands, which one am I going to sell? Well, during the COVID thing, when the inventory was really tight, I'm going to sell you what I can get. And there were some companies that were better than others during COVID at determining when tractors are going to be built and what availability was going to be and communicating that with their dealers. And others were not. So if I've got 2 brands and I know that I've got this one coming in and getting unloaded off a truck in 2 weeks, I can sell you that and actually deliver it. I'm going to sell that versus the other one where I'm being told we don't know when our tractors are going to be built or when you're going to get them. And that was the reality during COVID. Now that we're back to a kind of a normal situation with inventory, there's a couple, 3 things that will drive a dealer to sell one over the other. The first thing is most dealers have just an innate brand loyalty, a brand that they would rather sell, everything else being equal. At the dealership I worked at, they were longtime New Holland people, and they had a lot of allegiance to the Ford New Holland brand. And so everything else being equal, that's what they were going to sell. If there's a deficiency in the product line where New Holland doesn't offer something and another supplier does, that's what they're going to sell. The next thing, of course, is price. If there's a significant price advantage with one brand, and price is all dictated by inventory. If somebody overestimated or was over aggressive about how many units they would sell and overbuilt, and there's a glut of inventory, of course they'll discount them to sell them. The more a lot of marketing is, the cheaper the price is, the more units you'll sell. So if you're able to get a deal as a dealer from one supplier that's got an inventory problem, you're going to sell that. And then if everything else is equal, if the dealer doesn't have a brand loyalty to one of the other brands, and usually they'll be loyal to their oldest brand, the one they've been handling the longest, they're going to sell you what you really need. And hopefully most dealers, that's what they're going to do. If you go to a dealer and they're pushing one thing at you and they're not asking you any questions, it's time to go to another dealer. The way the sales situation is supposed to work, if I'm a salesperson, I'm asking you what you need and listening to you about what you're going to do with that tractor, especially as a first-time buyer, and finding out what's the best product I have that I can sell you. Now, I'll probably tell you about other options in my line and maybe if I've got another brand, what they make, and then I'm going to tell you why I'm pushing you toward this one, why this is a better deal for you. And if you're sitting across the desk from a salesperson that is pushing you one way or the other and not asking a bunch of questions, get up and leave. Go find a salesperson that's going to ask you questions and try to tailor that tractor to your needs. But in the end, I think if I'm buying a tractor and I'm looking between two brands on a dealer's lot, here's the situation. The dealer's got my business. That's why I loved selling 2 brands. If you're trying to decide between, if I'm a Massey dealer and a Hendrick dealer and you're trying to decide between those 2 brands, I've got your business. So at that point, I'll probably try to just figure out what's best for you and give you that. So that's an advantage of having 2 brands. Now, one thing that happens from time to time when a supplier has an inventory problem is they'll offer a big salesperson bonus, or spiff as they're called. So in other words, when you buy a tractor, your salesperson usually gets a check in the mail from the supplier for selling you that tractor. And if you're dealing with a salesperson, I'd always ask them, which do you make more money selling? Do you get a salesman bonus on a particular model? Because money talks. Salespeople love to make those salesman bonuses. I'm no different than them. I always loved that. And if they're getting a salesperson bonus, that could cloud their ability to direct you to the exact right product. So I would find out about that when you're buying a tractor. Called a spiff or a salesman bonus. Find out if there's one on the tractor they're steering you toward. And if there is, back off just a bit and make sure that's really what you want. A few years ago, I wrote a book called An Insider's Guide to Purchasing a Tractor. It's for a first-time tractor buyer. It's to help you get the right thing the first time. It's available on my website. It's $29.95, which is a lot for a book, but if you buy it, I'll give you a coupon to get $29.95 off something that you buy for your tractor off my website in the future, by way of kind of bribing you to be my customer, which is what I want. But go to my website if you'd like to buy it. It's called An Insider's Guide to Purchasing a Tractor. It's available in ebook form only, no hardback, so you got to know how to run a Kindle or one of those devices to read a book off of, but it'll help you get the right tractor the first time. Thanks for watching.